One of the best ways to get better at reading astrology charts is to practice on the charts of other people. Practice on friends and family, especially people that you can feel comfortable asking them questions and getting feedback. But soon we start to run out of charts. And so practicing on celebrities or public figures can be helpful, but I think it's important to respect privacy of those people. So what I like to do is maybe read some biographies, watch interviews that they've done, documentaries, and even reality TV. I think reality TV is probably the most helpful because you see quite a bit of how they act in real life, or at least how they act while the cameras are turned on. May not be how they act the rest of the time, but you can get a lot of information that way. So I like to notice some things that they do, the behaviors, mannerisms. How do they speak? Are they exuberant and enthusiastic and have lots of hand gestures, or are they more on the quiet side and kind of fold their arms? And how do they act? How do they interact with their family? Interviews are nice because they can choose to open up about certain things in their life, and we can go looking in the astrology chart and see where those things come from, and not just personality, but also with life events. So here I have Kourtney Kardashian's chart. She is the oldest of the Kardashian girls. We've already taken a look at Kris Jenner's chart. So if you, and Kris Jenner is the mom of all these Kardashian Jenner girls. So if you would like to see that chart and that analysis, make sure to take a look at that. One thing that I noticed about Kourtney is she's not as emotionally expressive as her mother. Her mother has Moon in Cancer and is emotionally expressive. You see her crying sometimes. That is not fake. That is not for the camera. Those are real tears. That's Moon in Cancer sensitivity. But here, Kourtney, you don't see that from her very often. I don't think we saw her tear up until season 10, and she started opening up about some things. It's not easy for her. Her moon, which rules over the emotions, the inner world, her moon is in Capricorn. And Capricorn is about inhibition and holding back. We won't see a lot of emotional outbursts from Moon in Capricorn. She's very controlled and speaks the same way a lot of the time. I think her tone is pretty stable, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of emotional ups and downs with her, and she doesn't seem to emotionally react to what her sisters do. She might yell sometimes, she might get a little angry, but she's pretty controlled, and we see that comes from the Moon in Capricorn. She has several placements in Aries, including the Sun and Mars and Mercury. And with Sun, Mercury, Mars, and Aries, yeah, and she's pretty emotionally controlled, but anytime her temper comes out, that's where it comes from. She's honest and direct and doesn't seem very sensitive with what she says to people. And that was one of the first things I noticed about her, and that's what we see in her first house. These planets in Aries, including Mars, which rules over Aries. That's being honest and direct and forthright, and sometimes that can appear insensitive, especially to people who are more sensitive, like the water signs of Pisces, Cancer, and even Scorpio. Now, she does have Pisces rising, with the South Node and Ceres and Venus and Pisces. So there is some sensitivity there. I have her birthday and time, which has been verified in astro.com, accurate birth time, April 18th, 1979, 3:15 a.m. in Los Angeles. And so she does have, we can safely say she has Pisces rising. So there is a sensitivity, especially to anyone that she feels like has been wronged, or feeling a need to do charity work, and she can very clearly see through someone's outer layer, you know, the shell or the outer layer, or she can pierce right through that to the core and see inner beauty as well as inner truth. And that's part of Pisces, and that's part of Aries. And she does have like it's like a bullshit radar. Anyone who tries to bullshit her, she just sees right through it. And that's also the Aries planets. I think Kourtney Kardashian is beautiful. I think all of these girls in this family are beautiful. And we see Neptune up on the midheaven. So if we want to look at what's characteristic about someone, what stands out first, we look at the first house rising sign, and also the 10th house, which is the midheaven, or the beginning of the 10th house is the midheaven, and Neptune right there. And Neptune, one of the Neptune archetypes is the goddess. Beauty, film, photography. She's made a lot of money from, or a big part of her career has been in photo shoots. And she's done a lot of other things as well, but 10th house can represent career, and with Neptune there, she was destined to do well in anything with photography, video. Neptune's also the illusion, which we associate with film and video and photos. Now, in the earlier seasons and in her marriage, she to, what was his name? Scott. I think it was Scott. Did I mention I was sick when I binge watched the Kardashians? I got really sick over Christmas, and it was the only thing. I really couldn't pay attention to much else, so I had to watch some not so serious TV. But in the earlier season, she was married to Scott, or they weren't married, but they shared a home and a family together, and they were partners. And so here she has Saturn at the very end of the 6th house, but is going into the 7th, and we could consider that ruling over, partially ruling over the 7th house in partnership. And so a couple of things with that can manifest, and one is being attracted to someone who's older or more mature or provides security and stability. Scott's family had a lot of money. Her family had some money too, but that could have provided some security for her. But at the same time, she had said in some form or another, she had to keep babysitting him, and he did drink a lot and partied a lot, and she felt like she had to seem like mother him a little bit or parent him. And Saturn archetype is the parent that is the disciplinarian. And so she says she felt like she had to keep an eye on him. So that Saturn in the 7th house for her seemed to be going both ways. One, that represented the partner she was looking for, Saturn and security and feeling safe. And then the other, she was playing out this Saturn archetype where she was having to parent him, which I think is interesting. And lastly, we see this grand trine of Earth sign planets, the Saturn in Virgo, Moon in Capricorn, and Chiron in Taurus in the 2nd house. And so Earth signs are about security and stability, self-sufficiency, being able to do things on our own if needed. And in the show, she didn't appear very needy to me. And I see it here in the chart, the contact between Saturn and the Moon, but just the Earth triangle itself. This is someone who's very self-sufficient. This goes back to my, often in astrology, we say rule of 3, and I have a video about this on Patreon in the Learn Astrology tier. Rule of 3, if you see a theme in the astrology chart, something that pops up at least 3 times or more, then it's really important and it's probably evident in their behavior or in life circumstance. So Moon in Capricorn, self-sufficiency, trine Saturn, which Saturn's on an angle, the 7th house, so Saturn's important. And then an Earth triangle, I can do it myself. That's Kourtney Kardashian.